Good morning to everyone at today's public hearing of the Vetting Commission established under Law Number 65, the year 2023, on the external evaluation of judges and candidates for judges of the Supreme Court of Justice. I'm Scott Bales, the chair of Panel B of the Commission, and I declare this session open. The hearing is being conducted under Law Number 252 of the year 2023 on the external evaluation of judges and prosecutors and amending some normative acts, and also under the Commission's rules of organization and functioning as part of the evaluation process. The subject of today's hearing is Silvia Cecan, a judge of the Central Court of Appeal, previously the Chișinău Court of Appeal. Judge Cecan, welcome. I'm joined by two other panel members. To my right is William Brower, and to my left is Commission member Yuri Gatskin. The panel is also assisted by members of its secretariat, and you may notice there's a photographer who will be taking pictures just at the beginning of the hearing. The hearing will be conducted with interpretation between Romanian and English. To allow for accurate interpretation, I ask everyone to speak clearly and slowly. Only one person should speak at a time. Furthermore, the proceedings are being recorded. The recordings of the public hearings generally will be available online at the Commission's website, www.vettingmd.eu, within 3 days after the hearing. The closed part of the hearing will not be available on the Commission's website, but will be recorded and included in the materials of the evaluation file. Judge, during the hearing, one or more of the members of the panel may ask you questions. Please answer them truthfully and completely. Your explanations are important to the panel in verifying your financial and ethical integrity. At the end of the hearing, you will be given the opportunity to make a brief closing statement. In posing questions to you, we will take into account your privacy and, where required and possible, the privacy of family members and close persons. So we will leave out unnecessary information such as ID numbers, specific real estate addresses, and the like. We ask you to do the same for the purpose of protecting privacy. I will start by briefly reviewing the evaluation process for Judge Cecan. The Commission began its evaluation on the 11th of April 2024 by notifying the judge by email and asking her to complete and return an ethics questionnaire and the declarations required by Law Number 252. Judge Cecan returned the completed declarations and questionnaire on April 30th, 2024. As part of evaluating a subject's ethical and financial integrity, the Commission also obtains information from many other sources, such as the National Integrity Authority, the State Fiscal Service, the General Inspectorate of the Border Police, other public institutions, financial institutions, and open sources. The Commission assesses information it obtains for its relevance and reliability. On September 27, 2024, the panel asked Judge Cecan to provide additional information by October 8th to clarify certain matters. After the judge was granted 2 extensions for her response, she provided answers and documents on October 15, 2024. On November 12, 2024, the Commission asked Judge Cecan to provide additional information by November 21st to clarify certain matters. She provided partial answers and documents on November 21st and additional information on November 28th. On December 6, 2024, the panel asked Judge Cecan to provide additional information by December 15th to clarify certain matters. After the Commission granted the judge a 1-week extension, she provided answers and documents on December 22nd, 2024. On January 24th, 2025, we notified Judge Cecan that the panel had identified some areas of doubt about her compliance with the ethical and financial criteria and invited her to attend today's hearing. On January 27th, the judge sent the Commission a request to access the evaluation materials and also requested that the Commission be held partially in closed session. The Secretariat of the Commission provided access to the evaluation materials, and on January 30th, 2025, the Commission sent Judge Cecan its decision allowing her request for a partially closed hearing. On February 4th, 2025, Judge Cecan sent the Commission additional explanations related to the doubts identified in the hearing notice. Judge Cecan, first, do you wish to make any corrections or additions to the information you've provided to the Commission up to now?
By providing written explanations submitted to the Commission, I made actually all the clarifications which are needed and which were necessary.
Okay. Are the answers that you provided to the ethics questionnaire and the declarations that you returned on April 30th, 2024, are they still accurate as of today?
Could you please repeat your question?
Are the answers that you provided on April 30th, 2024 to the ethics questionnaire and the declarations that you submitted that day, are they still accurate as of now?
They are.
Okay. So members of the panel will now ask some follow-up questions. We'll try to keep our questions short and to the point. We ask that your answers be short and to the point as well. I note that the hearing notice identified some concerns the Commission has related to inexplicable wealth and also to the omissions in certain declarations. We granted the request to close the hearing partially. So when the matters that are addressed in paragraphs 47 through 65 of the hearing notice, when we discuss those items, we'll go into closed session. We first will be in public session, and Mr. Gaskin will take the lead in asking questions.
Greetings. First of all, we would like to discuss about the information you have submitted yesterday. And later on, we'll actually analyze all those 6 years where the Commission identified a discrepancy between income and expenses, which is about to 691,000 lei. First of all, can we have a clarity with regard to the information submitted by you yesterday with regard to expenses related to the tuition of your daughter abroad? Initially, you have mentioned that you paid some tuition fees alongside your husband, and you have provided a monthly support as foodstuff or other assets to your daughter, but also some financial means, about 200 euro per month. Later on, in the third round of questions, you pointed out, and also in the information provided yesterday, that you have amended those informations, and a part of those expenses you attributed to your husband. Could you please explain why have you amended those data, and how could you explain those informations? Well, in fact, I wanted just to clarify with regard to explanation provided yesterday. In the first round of questions, I said, and I explained to the Commission that the first installment of the tuition fee for 2016-2017 has been paid by my husband, by her father. Later, or for the period of the years, or actually for the August, September, October, and December, actually we contributed to this tuition fee, with various assets and financial means that do not exceed 200 euro. Maybe I wasn't correctly, I did not make myself clear, but I have not amended that. I just wanted to clarify that. So in the first round of questions, you mentioned foodstuff and specifically some financial needs. What I meant to say is that all those contributions did not exceed the amount of 200 euro. Overall, those contributions did not exceed 200 euros. Could you please clarify again the period? August, December 2016. I made the calculation yesterday specifically for that. I'm talking this period, specifically about this period. And if we generalize actually the assets in euro, 200 euro, we multiply that by 7 and we divide that by 2. For 2006, I had to report about 100,000 lei for contributing for the contributions I've made. And for the second part of the contract, I paid 910 euro, and later on for the months of July up to 2017, we divided the contributions into based on the information provided prior to that. And therefore, we have contributed with an amount of 37,000 euros for my daughter in 2017, if I'm not mistaken again. Could you please explain how have you established with your husband, former husband, this joint contribution? Was it a verbal agreement or there is a written agreement? I have already explained in the first round of questions. That's when we got separated, my husband contributed financially when it was needed to support my children. And when my daughter went abroad for study, he agreed to provide these sort of contributions. So in his explanation, he clarified this moment as well. In your replies, you mentioned that from 2017, your daughter has not continued her studies. Can you please specify exactly from what month? She finalized 2016-2017 years, and later on, there were several reasons why she did not carry on with her studies. One of them was my financial means. I wasn't able to provide for her. Did you also provide any other financial means from that time going forward? No, only some gifts with some occasions, specific occasions, but since she lived together with your future husband, then they were actually independent financially. And the Commission identified in the year of 2020 a transfer of 734 euros as a donation. Was it a unique donation, a single donation? Yeah, it was done for her health reasons, in order to support her in that. Also, in the information provided yesterday, you pointed out that a part of the expenses made by credit card have been carried out in order to support your mother. Was it somehow, and you mentioned that it was coordinated with your brothers, and the rest of the money have been returned. And this side of expenses, you consider that should be excluded from the calculations of the Commission as annual expenses. Is that right? We are talking about 48,000 annually. 48,000 lei annually. Could you please explain what exactly we are talking about when it comes to these expenses? Could you please make a delineation, or was it possible to do so in the bank statements? I already communicated to the Commission in the third round of question, and the Commission said that it doesn't deny the fact that I was able to provide help for my mother, but I do not accept that this amount of money has been returned to me by my brothers. We are a very numerous family. My mother is nowadays 75 years old. She lives in a house that is connected to all utilities, internet, aqueduct, gas, and all these utilities actually are hard to maintain, and therefore at her age she needs also other types of contributions and additional income in order to cover all this expense. Myself and my brothers who live in Italy had an agreement with regard to this sort of expenses, and they actually asked me to take care of our mother, even though I do so voluntarily. But also they offered to pay $100 per month in order to care for our mother, in order to take care of everything, to buy groceries, hygienic products, clothing, absolutely everything she needs at this stage in life. And I considered that I said that a part of these items were bought by credit card. I agree with Commission. Not everything has been paid out of my pocket. Indeed, I use some cash payments. Maybe Commission has done some other calculations which are included in our columns with regard to income, because I insist that this money have been provided by my brothers. They return to Moldova 3 or 4 times per year to Moldova, and I also travel to Italy twice per year. We see each other, and we do have the chance to receive the money. They have confirmed via their explanation this very fact. There are situations when our mother needs more attention. Maybe sometimes we need to hire a nurse, or sometimes we need to get her to the hospital, and that means additional expense. And they are very cognizant of the fact they've got obligation toward our mother. Therefore, they have the financial means to do so. So I don't see why it should not be accepted that these brothers are willing and are able to provide some help. So you had a verbal agreement between the 3 brothers, siblings, in order to support your mother. Could you please tell us when this support started? From what year? And what was the monthly payment? My brothers returned to Moldova for the new year, and both of them actually gave me each 500 euro. So each of them gave me 500 euro to care for my mother. And I've been receiving money from my brothers for many years, and that started actually when my mother fell down and had a fracture, was injured, and we understood that she will not be able to care for herself. Therefore, we try to help her with everything we can. So this sort of contribution started from 2018 up till as of today, up till now. And to justify what you have mentioned so far, could you please provide other types of documentation or bank statements on your bank account, on your credit card, in order to justify this? So sometimes I already actually explained. All of them have been provided. All of this financial support have been provided in cash, and they've been. This money were provided at the beginning of the year, or I don't know exactly when. In the families which have many members, the situation is like that, I would say. At the same time, you provided an information yesterday. You pointed out that you have a common household with your husband. And here we have an overlapping of information with the subject that we wanted to discuss in the closed hearing. Can we leave that for the closed hearings, since they are related to each other? Okay.
Next, we'll take every year, one by one. You have the information that the Commission has as well. We'll start with year 2016. Okay, 2016. Perhaps we should take the years consecutively and go into closed session. Or it's up to you, I think. Yes?
Okay, we are going to move on to topics that we've agreed to address in closed session. So I will ask that people in the room other than the interpreters and the videographers leave. We will come back into open session before we conclude the hearing to allow Judge Cecan to make a statement if she wishes, and to also simply conclude our proceedings. So we just need a moment to let people absent themselves.
Can you now talk about the data with regard to 2016, where the Commission found a difference between income and expenses of roughly 70,000 lei? The majority of expenses in this year were related to payment of some loans and some payment for an apartment in Ceaucare. And therefore, there were some expenses, retail expenses, which you paid by your credit card. You also have mentioned that a part of this money are included in the consumption baskets. Back then you didn't provide support, financial support for your mother. Could you please explain then, how could you explain this difference? For some expenses we have established, for example, when it comes to supporting your daughter, you have mentioned that those contributions were made alongside your husband. And you divided those contributions with your husbands. We calculated about 22,000 lei as expenses. I consider that the calculation should be up to 10,000 lei for the year of 2016. With regard to bank savings, and here I would like to delve into this. In the third round of questions, somehow I try to communicate to the Commission that I don't agree with the things mentioned by me in the first round of questions. Therefore, I explained to the Commission that these should not be taken into account because they are part of some calculations made erroneously. Therefore, Commission considered this as insufficient, and therefore I would like to get back to this very situation. Commission said that you cannot reanalyze or go back to the data provided by me before that, and you actually suspect my credibility. But having this risk, I would like to get back to this subject. The period granted to me, I consider it to be a very short one in order to provide to the Commission a very complex answer. Therefore, back then, when I made the calculations, I didn't have all the answers, official answers from the various agencies that I would have been able to include in my answers to the Commission, and I would like to explain very clearly to how I came with these calculations with regards to savings and with regard to my disposable income. I subtracted actually my amounts for the loans and debts and consumer basket. Therefore, I came up with these calculations because I've had some expenses for refurbishment, for retail expenses that are actually part of the overall expenses and might have an effect on the overall evaluation of the subject. Therefore, I consider that these amounts should not be included, and the first information provided should not be considered by the Commission as a source of reliable information that could be taken or considered for the basis of some pertinent calculations. Therefore, I would like to you to reconsider that, since we have at our disposal other calculations that could be used in your assessment. Hence, I consider when it comes to expenses and incomes for the entire period from 2016 up to 2022, we should rule out those calculations or savings in cash. 2016 up to the end of 2022. So you think that we need to rule out all savings because they are not correct. I would like the Commission not to take into consideration the fact that I didn't try to put you on the wrong path or the wrong track. I explained what were the reason I came up with those calculations. And you, why did you mention this aspect in the third round of questions? Actually, I did so in the third round of questions, not prior to that, because in the first round of questions, I provided other answers. I wasn't asked about that back then, and later I tried to explain that those calculations are wrong, were wrong. Could you please confirm that you didn't have some savings in cash savings at the end of this period? I don't have actually some data to confirm that I did have some cash saving at the end of the year, and I can't provide an information which I cannot provide evidence for. At the same time, in the information you submitted yesterday, I remember clearly that you mentioned some transfers which were meant for a refurbishment of your apartment that should be omitted from the retail calculations. Have you identified those transfers in the annexes presented to the Commission? Those are included in retail expenses, which are included in the documentation provided for this case. Have you separately included in the annex yesterday? I think I specified all the data with regard to the transactions carried out. I think it's for 2020. Okay, when we get to 2020, we'll talk about that. So for 2016, you consider that we need to review calculations with regard to the expenses for your daughter and bank savings, right? That's correct. Now let's go to the next year. Let's talk about 2017.
Yes, madam. I would like to ask a question. Do you have this scheme of 2060 in front of you? Could you describe in detail which of those figures should be changed?
Of course. So when we are talking about income, the fifth one from the bottom, we are talking about savings, cash savings at the end of, and I consider that this amount should be omitted, and we only have to list 1,638 lei, which are considered savings.
So the 6,886 will be 1,000.
1,638 are bank savings, which are officially confirmed by the bank.
Okay, thank you. And then further in the scheme, please.
When it comes to expenses,
yes,
let's focus on that. Expenses for supporting my daughter Mihaela. We have in this table the amount of 22,057 lei, and I presented some calculations, and I consider that we need to include here the amount of 10,000 lei instead.
So this figure should be 32,000?
No, it should be 10,000.
Okay, it should be diminished.
Diminished, right.
And your motivation is that your husband contributed to this amount of money.
That's correct. I already explained that.
Thank you. So, dat gaat af. Thank you.
Okay. Putem trece mai departe, anul 2000.
Can we proceed with the year of 2017? For this very year, the Commission identified a discrepancy between income and expenses of 23,000 lei. At the same time, in this year, we have identified some expenses with regard to paying of some loans, some installments paid for the apartment in Chaucar, expenses for refurbishment of the apartment that you have pointed out in your response, retail expenses, but also support provided to your daughter Mihaela. In this case, do you also consider that we should overturn some savings established at the beginning of the year? Yeah, I think that we need to omit that information as well. We are talking So when we are talking about the studies of my daughter Michaela, I suggest we need to include the amount of 37,238 lei. Also, I don't agree with expenses in the amount of 13,675 lei. I was referring to the vacations that we took together, and it was Silvia Cecan who paid for that, and I insist that we should omit this information, as I didn't make those payments. When did those vacations happen? In 2017, in April, August. July, August. So you actually spent around 700 euro for 2 people? And you didn't have any other expenses during your vacations? No. Now let's talk about 2018.
Yes, I have to get a clear picture on this. You want to change the cash and bank savings at the start or at the beginning of 2017?
The end of 2017.
The end of 2017. You realize that the beginning of 2017 is the same as the end as 2016, yes? Okay. Yes.
So also for the yearly 2017, I'm talking about the amount of 5,319, which should be omitted, but also bank savings at the end of the year. We also need to omit this amount of 16,093 lei. 16,093 lei.
Okay, and the beginning of the year, what should that be? And, yes?
We need to omit the savings.
Rule them out, you mean?
Summa?
Yeah.
Zero. I think it's zero.
So that is 0, and then the end of 2016 is also 0. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Correct. At the end of 2016, it's also 0. And we have the same logic. Yearly 2018 is also on 0. And at the end of 2018, do you consider we also have to omit the amount of 24,000? I consider that we need to omit only cash savings. Bank savings are correct because they have been confirmed. With regards to expensive related to refurbishments of your apartment in the amount of 48,000 for the year of 2018, that's correct. We are talking about 2018. In the information presented yesterday, you pointed out these very calculations. Am I correct? No, I talked about that earlier in the third round of questions, but I wouldn't be totally in line with what has been provided. But later, when I gave up with regard to this situation, because once there is a degree of probability, I try to provide to the Commission figures that are the most appropriate for this reference period, and I believe that these figures should be taken into account for the evaluation. All the other figures with regard to payment of the loans and alimony in the amount of 36,000. Do you confirm if those are correct? I do confirm. The expenses in retail and payments by a credit card in the amount of 162,000 lei. Those are also related to payments that were made for supporting my mother. I believe that I had some serious expenses, and some of the payments were carried out with the credit card, including those related to supporting my mother. You have mentioned that the money represented also the contributions of your brothers, which was provided to you in advance, beforehand. So out of those 38,000 lei, 1/3 should be your own money. Possible. Would you agree to exclude this amount from the retail expenses and assign that for another chapter? So I don't exactly know what is the way you make the calculation, but I know that this money should be taken consideration for calculation. With regard to your savings, you believe that only cash savings should be taken into account for 2018, right? That's correct. Are there any other questions? No.
We'll move on to year 2020. This year, the Commission identified a difference between income and expenses of around 227,000 lei. This year, several expenses for reimbursing loans were registered, were identified. Retail expenses, some donations. There are some reimbursements for loans carried out by Ion Cecan. In yesterday's answer, you said that this year should be subject to a recalculation because your joint household basically began in July 2020. So, certain expenses should be excluded. For instance, the Credit Rapid loan. I think that all the calculations should be redone, taking into account that information. And that loan of 280,067 lei should be divided in half. It was a credit for a loan for a car, yes, for an Audi 7. I didn't have the time to decide, do I want to take a loan for this car or not? This was his wish, his decision, his personal decision. I did not participate in this purchase. So I think that only the reimbursements made starting in July should be taken into account. And about bank savings and cash savings, you also want to keep only the bank savings. Yes? Yes, the bank savings. Can I continue on this topic without a question? For 2020, the Commission invoked that Ion Cecan made some donations to Alexei. In the third round of questions, because this question occurred then, I explained that Ion Cecan has a friendship with Talmazan Alexei, and asked to make a transfer for Oksana Zolotko. money that has been paid back after that. It was a loan, and after that, these financial means have been reimbursed in the same year? Yes. But the Commission doubted this situation and raised questions because the Commission said that the explanation provided is not enough. In my clarifications submitted yesterday, I provided additional explanations and additional evidence. Talmazan, Elisei confirmed this transaction. With their explanation, shows that the error or the confusion with the name was the origin of the doubts of the Commission. The bank account should have been mentioned, not only the name. So perhaps it was an error made by the bank operator. Other transfers, Ion Cecan did not make to other people. So you say that these donations were temporary loans. Yes, temporary loans paid back the same year, and they should be excluded from expenses. Yes? Yes. I want to also ask you, in that year, you had reimbursements of around 200,000 lei for different loans. These reimbursements were made by transfer from your salary, courts, or by depositing cash. I suppose it was both. The expenses for refurbishment of the apartment, do you maintain them? Yes. Holiday expenses? They were joint, and I think that they can be kept. The donation to your daughter? You can keep that? I did not deny that I made this donation during that year. The car? Audi was bought in March, yes? So it should be excluded together with the loan. Yes, the loan, and from expenses as well. It should be excluded. The savings, bank savings at the end of the year. Do you believe that the Commission should recalculate them? I refer to the entire period of time. Yes, all the bank savings kept at the end of the year. About financial support for children provided by Ion Cecan. Do you confirm this amount? For this entire period of time, for 2020, I think it should be halved. And it should be only 18,000 lei. And I said that initially besides paying for the loan for the apartment, he also provides 3,000 lei monthly. But after some discussions with him, I realized that he contributed for in-kind goods, hygiene products and others. So he contributes to joint expenses. So it would mean 52,000 expenses. And out of these 52,000, I clarified that the amount of 8,900 lei should be excluded. That was incurred by Ion Cecan after the marriage was formalized. It was in September, and it was meant for goods bought for the refurbishment of the apartment. And this was in your clarification submitted yesterday. But there was another shop mentioned there, Unique 2, which sells clothes, actually. No, they have a shop there selling rugs. I think it was for us to do up the apartment. Then we'll review the calculations for this year. There are several amounts that should be excluded and others included. Other questions? We'll continue with year 2021. As you've mentioned, the amount of bank savings will be kept, and this is for the beginning of the year and the end of the year. Yes? This year, you had several expenses in order to pay off loans, retail expenses, holidays, and financial support for children. You mentioned that the cash savings shouldn't be calculated at the end of the year, which means that this amount, 41,000, is a cash saving and should be not considered. You think it should be zero? Yes, I think it should be zero. Okay. Other amounts? Are they correct? With the clarifications and explanations submitted yesterday, of course. I can provide explanations for 2021. It's not necessary for 2021, but if you see some figures that don't add up, do tell. Retail expenses. I think that the amount of 6,339 is already part of. Yes, 6,339 should already be included in the repair works or refurbishment works. The 3,000 amount should go to retail expenses, considering the explanations provided previously. And 48,000 for my mother's support should be not considered, should be not included in the calculation. This was what I wanted to mention regarding year 2021. The 48,000 you said. Yes? They were not included, sorry, they were not included here. Only 1/3. Only your part. So it should be more. This year will be reviewed as well. Considering the information submitted by you yesterday and today as well. We'll continue with year 2022, where the Commission identified a difference of around 50,000 lei between income and expenses. In 2021, the Commission took the savings of 141,000 for 2022. But you said that this information should be rectified. And should be excluded from that year. Reimbursements for loans. Refurbishment. Expenses. Do you keep them? Yes. Were they made by card? No. In cash. And savings at the end of the year, you think that they should be reduced to the bank savings? Yes? Yes. And I also think that The donation given to Ludmila Mazurenko should be excluded, the 23,055, because I said that it was so my husband made a transfer the same year and the loan was paid back, or the money. About financial support for children, do you think that it's part of joint expenses? Yes. What kind of expenses are these? What kind of payments are in the bank statements? Hygienic products, medicines bought at the pharmacy, clothes, groceries. Usually, support for children is provided at the beginning of the month or at the end of the month. I did not include this information. It depends on the needs. The rest of amounts, you believe that they are correct? Yes. Plus 48,000. In the following, I'll discuss the failure to declare certain goods and rights to use. We talked about these aspects regarding cars in the closed part of the hearing. And it also relates to certain donations. You as a judge, what do you think? This failure to declare, 7 failures to declare certain amounts where the Commission identified. Do you think this is a violation of ethics, an ethical violation? I can speak about this if the Commission insists about the bank accounts declaration. And about that commercial firm founded by my husband, it was not declared, and it was not. And there's actually a report by NIA stating that it was not a violation of the assets declaration, an interest declaration. I think that I did not have documents, for instance, to own the apartment mentioned in the documents. That apartment was rented and it was meant to be sold. For the owner to rent that apartment, it would need a lot of investments. As long as I indicated the correct address in my declaration of assets and interests and personal interests, I think I respected all the regulations and laws. About bank accounts, there were significant transactions. What was the goal, the purpose for which these bank accounts were used? The National Integrity Agency made a rigorous verification of this aspect. These bank accounts were established when I changed my place of work. I opened, for instance, a new account and the old one was left open. But when I had to declare them, so I failed to declare some older accounts, but they did not have money in it. About the loan and the transfer donation made by our husband, we talked about this. I have no other questions.
Judge Cecan, we're coming now to the end of the hearing, and we wanted to ask if you'd like to make a brief statement before we conclude. Is there anything you'd like to say beyond what you've already told us?
Very briefly, I'd like to tell the Commission that during the evaluation, I was very honest in my statements. I did my best to provide accurate information so that right conclusion can be made regarding my financial and ethical integrity by the Commission. I honestly hope that my clarifications made inclusively today in this hearing will be considered and a correct decision will be made. I want to thank you for your time and wish you a good day.
Well, Judge, thank you for your answers today and the information you've provided the Commission. After the hearing, the panel will approve an evaluation report stating its conclusion, whether the subject meets the evaluation criteria under law number 252. We will strive to complete and approve that report as soon as possible. And that brings us to the end of the hearing. The hearing is now closed. Good day to everyone.